Archaeologists discovered coins back in the Maccabean time. This is the dynasty who kicked out the enemies of Israel 150, 160 years before the time of Christ. They found coins. On the coins, they were engraving of palm branches on these coins. And hence, for the Jewish people, this commemorates the victory, the deliverance of the Jewish people from the enemies of Israel under the time of Maccabees. And now, at the time of Jesus, they were waving the palm branches as Christ about to enter the city on a donkey, hoping, wishing, dreaming he would be the liberator, the conqueror, who would expel the Roman oppression. Unbeknownst to them, Christ has a different plan. He's not coming like in the second coming in the book of Revelation with a white horse, with myriads and myriads of angels and saints conquering, devastating his enemies. He won't come just yet, but he will come as the first coming on a humble donkey. The Jews did not see it. They did not recognize him. Hence, as he left Bethany and about to enter the city, leaving from Bethany is about a 2-mile trip, trekking down the southeastern slope of the Mount of Olives. He sees the city from afar, and yet he paused from a distance, and scripture says he began to weep. He was crying and weeping, and he exclaimed, he made a prophecy, the enemies will come one day to invade Jerusalem. They will tear the city to the ground. Not one stone is left upon another, because you did not recognize the day of visitation, his visitation, coming not as a conqueror or the liberator, but as the man of sorrows, the suffering servant from Isaiah 53, the one who cries out in Psalm 22, my God, why have you abandoned me? They didn't see him as the ultimate Passover lamb that would take away all their sins. Even some 40 years after his death, they continue to sacrifice lambs every year, especially during the Passover. The Jewish historian Josephus, he wrote, every year in the Passover, the Jews sacrificed 250,000 lambs. According to Exodus 12 direction, each family picked out a perfect, unblemished lamb without any defect, no disease, no sores, and they had to be chosen by the family to be offered during the Passover. Exodus 12 says, on the 10th day of the first month, Nisan 10, each family would pick out a lamb from the shepherds of Bethlehem. And here, 1400 years later, Christ is coming into Jerusalem. According to theologians and historians, the Sunday of him coming into the city was exactly the 10th day of the first month, which is the day of the lamb selection. The day of lamb selection. So imagine the scene. Christ coming from Bethany, a 2-mile trip east of Jerusalem, coming into the city along the Mount of Olives, and south of Jerusalem is Bethlehem. The shepherds would herd large flocks of sheep, beautiful, unblemished sheep. They made a 9-mile trip northward to Jerusalem for the families of the Jewish people to select the unblemished, perfect lamb. So 2 journeys, the shepherd's journey and Christ's journey into the city. Unbeknownst to them, he would be the ultimate final lamb, meaning after his death, they don't have to sacrifice any more lambs, no more animal sacrifice. There will be a new covenant, the Eucharist, that we get to partake. And yet he began to weep, and he made a prophecy that the city will be destroyed and crushed to the ground. And the prophecy came true 40-some years later in the year 70 AD, when the Roman legions surrounded the city, demolished, leveled completely the whole city, because they did not recognize the time of his visitation. 2 places in Scripture where he began to weep. And the first instance was in Bethany, 14 days before his triumphal entry into Jerusalem. He was with the 3 siblings, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. When Mary and Martha came up to him, "My brother had died, Lord. Have you had been here? My brother would not have died. But I know you can do all things." And the shortest Bible verse in the entire Bible contains just 2 words. Jesus wept. He wept for those who knew him, the 3 siblings. He loved them to death. These are his best friends. He wept because they knew him. He shared in their sorrow. And yet just 2 weeks later, as he's about to enter Jerusalem, he began to weep for those who did not know him, who did not recognize the time of his visitation. 2 different types of weeping for those who knew him, those who did not know him. He's the man of sorrow. He's the man from Isaiah 53, the suffering servant. From Psalm 22, my God, why have you abandoned me?" He foresaw all things. So this Palm Sunday, nothing can be derailed from his journey into Jerusalem. This would be his last journey. It began all the way from Exodus chapter 12, 1400 years prior, that God said a lamb must be sacrificed. And then King David, 1,000 years before his time, before Christ's time, that when he wrote Psalm 22, my God, why have you abandoned me?" King David had prophesied that his heir to the throne, Jesus, would be crying from the cross. And Isaiah 53, 600 years before the time of Jesus, made the same prophecy. He would be the man led to the slaughter like a baby lamb. Followed by Micah chapter 5, 500 years before the time of Jesus. He would be the ruler would come out from Bethlehem to rule. He's from Bethlehem. And then lastly, Numbers, prophecy, prophesied from Balaam, the prophet, that a star would rise from Bethlehem. And Bethlehem is where he was born, and is near the barns or the shepherds' fields, where the shepherds would raise these beautiful flocks of sheep, so that one day they would be sacrificed to the temple on Passover week. As you come up to receive the Eucharist, call to mind the joy and the sorrow of Christ while we enter into Holy Week, knowing that we have to accompany the humble Jesus on a donkey, the man of sorrows, the suffering servant. We accompany Christ in his suffering because, as they say, if you share in somebody's joy, your joy is double. And yet if you share in somebody's sorrow, their sorrow is cut in half. A shared joy is a double joy. A shared sorrow is half a sorrow. It's cut in half. That's why he asked the disciples, "Watch with me for 1 hour, just 1 hour." But they fell asleep. So we accompany Christ, the Messiah, the suffering servant, and we share in his sorrowful passion.